September 4th, 1939. As Britain declares war on Nazi Germany, a 27-year-old Cambridge mathematician with a stammer and a bicycle chain problem reports to a Victorian manor house 50 miles north of London. His name is Alan Turing. Within 5 years, his work will save an estimated 14 to 21 million lives and shorten the war by up to 4 years. Yet he will die in obscurity, persecuted by the very government he saved. This is the story of how mathematical genius cracked the unbreakable code and how triumph became tragedy. Picture a typewriter that could scramble letters in 159 quintillion different ways. That's 159 followed by 18 zeros. The German Enigma machine looked like an ordinary typewriter, but inside sat 3 rotating wheels called rotors, each wired to scramble the alphabet differently. Press the letter A, and the wheels might output K. Press A again, the wheels click forward, and now it becomes F. Every single keystroke changed the cipher completely. But the Germans didn't stop there. On the front panel, 10 cables could swap letter pairs, adding a second layer of scrambling. And here is the brilliant part. Because the signal bounced off a reflector at the end, so the same settings could both encrypt and decrypt messages. German commanders could communicate across battlefields, confident their messages were mathematically impossible to break. They were almost right. Even knowing how Enigma worked, you would have to test every possible daily setting. Traditional code breaking was utterly useless. The Germans had achieved cryptographic perfection. Every night at midnight, the settings changed. Yesterday's breakthrough was worthless. The race began anew. Alan Matheson Turing was not a typical war hero. Born June 23, 1912, he was a lonely child who spoke to few people but conversed fluently with mathematics. At age 16, he mastered Einstein's relativity independently. At Sherborne School, his teachers despaired. The headmaster warned that if he was to stay, he must aim at becoming educated, and if he was to be solely a scientific specialist, he was wasting his time. But one person understood him: Christopher Morcom, a fellow student. Turing later wrote that he simply worshipped the ground Christopher trod on. When Christopher died suddenly at 18 from tuberculosis in February 1930, Turing was shattered. He coped by throwing himself into the science they had shared. By 1936, at age 23, Turing published the paper On Computable Numbers, introducing the theoretical Turing machine that would become the foundation of all modern computing. When war came, British intelligence knew exactly who to recruit. Turing arrived at Bletchley Park wearing clothes that rarely included a tie, riding a bicycle whose chain fell off at predictable intervals. Instead of fixing it, he counted pedal rotations and dismounted after precisely 13 revolutions to adjust the chain by hand. During hay fever season, he cycled to work wearing a gas mask. He chained his coffee mug to the radiator pipes to prevent theft. His colleague Professor Peter Hilton, who worked alongside him, later said it is a rare experience to meet an authentic genius, that one realizes one is in the presence of an intelligence and sensibility of such profundity and originality that one is filled with wonder and excitement. Turing would need every ounce of that genius. He did not start from nothing. 5 weeks before Germany invaded Poland, 3 Polish mathematicians met secretly with British and French intelligence. They handed over their greatest secret. They had already broken early versions of Enigma in 1932, built working replicas, and created an electromechanical machine to automate the breaking. But the Germans had added complexity. By September 1939, the Polish methods were obsolete. Turing would need a new approach entirely. Turing recognized something the Germans thought was a strength. No letter could ever encrypt to itself. Their reflector design guaranteed it. This seemingly small constraint was the crack in the armor. Turing developed the concept of cribs, educated guesses about message content. German military culture was wonderfully predictable. Weather reports often began with the same word. messages ended with Heil Hitler. North African outposts dutifully reported nothing to report. Turing's insight was revolutionary. Instead of searching for the single right answer among quintillions, he used logic to eliminate wrong answers. If you suspected a word appeared in a message, you could slide it along the ciphertext. Anywhere the same letter appeared in both plain text and cipher at the same position was impossible. That setting could be eliminated instantly. The genius was mechanizing this logic. Turing designed the bombe, named after the Polish Bombe, but working on entirely different principles. Picture 12. Enigma machines. Machines wired together, drums spinning through all possible rotor positions, testing logical chains for contradictions. When the electrical circuits found settings that did not create impossible loops, the machine stopped. That was a candidate solution. The first Bombe arrived March 14, 1940. It was too slow. By August, the second Bombe incorporated a crucial refinement. This one worked. By 1943, over 100 bombes were clicking away in shifts around the clock, operated by hundreds of women who never knew what they were breaking or that the war's outcome depended on their work. The codebreakers had a single goal: decrypt the day's settings by breakfast. They usually succeeded. Breaking Enigma did not just help the war effort. It was the difference between victory and annihilation. The Battle of the Atlantic became the most critical front. German U-boats were strangling Britain, sinking supply ships faster than they could be replaced. Churchill later wrote that the only thing that ever really frightened him during the war was the U-boat peril. By summer 1941, naval Enigma was being broken regularly. Convoys could be rerouted around wolf packs. Shipping losses plummeted. Then, disaster struck. On February 1st, 1942, Germany introduced a 4-rotor Enigma for U-boat communications. Overnight, the codebreakers went blind. For 10 months, Britain could not read U-boat messages. Allied shipping losses skyrocketed. Britain faced starvation. Then came heroes no one would remember. October 30th, 1942. A British destroyer depth-charged a German submarine for 16 hours off the Egyptian coast, until the damaged vessel surfaced. The German crew abandoned ship, but in their panic, they failed to destroy codebooks. 3 British sailors risked everything. Lieutenant Anthony Fasson, age 29, able seaman. Colin Grazier, age 22, who had married just 2 days before deployment. And 16-year-old canteen assistant Tommy Brown, who had lied about his age to enlist, stripped naked, and swam to the sinking submarine. While crewmates watched in horror, they smashed open cabinets in the captain's cabin, passing documents. Up through the conning tower, they retrieved priceless weather code books. Someone yelled, "She is going." Water was rushing in. Tommy Brown scrambled up the ladder to safety. Fasson and Grazier kept working, grabbing one more document. The submarine lurched downward. They tried to climb out. Both men drowned as the vessel plunged to the bottom. They were posthumously awarded the George Cross. On December 13, 1942, using the captured codebooks, Bletchley broke back into the German naval code. Allied shipping losses halved. Fasson and Grazier's sacrifice had changed the war. Despite success, bureaucracy strangled progress. Staff shortages left vital intelligence unprocessed. By October 1941, Turing had had enough. He and 3 colleagues committed what some called career suicide. They wrote directly to Winston Churchill. A letter began. "Some weeks ago, you paid us the honor of a visit, and we believe that you regard our work as important. This work is being held up because we cannot get sufficient staff to deal with it." One colleague personally delivered the letter to 10 Downing Street. The next day, Churchill's response arrived. Marked action this day. Make sure they have all they want on extreme priority. Almost from that day, the rough ways began miraculously to be made smooth. More machines were ordered. The tide was turning. Decrypts became Britain's most powerful weapon. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, intercepted messages verified the deception plan was working perfectly. Germans kept 22 divisions waiting at the wrong location for 7 weeks after D-Day. Supreme Allied Commander Eisenhower later wrote that the intelligence had been of priceless value and simplified his task as a commander enormously. Churchill called the Bletchley staff the geese who laid the golden eggs and never cackled. The official historian of British intelligence calculated that their work shortened the war by 2 to 4 years and saved an estimated 14 to 21 million lives. As the war ended in May 1945, all 10,000 Bletchley Park workers received a reminder. The Official Secrets Act did not expire with peace. Their vow was for life. For 30 years, virtually none of them spoke. Not to spouses, not to children. When asked what they did in the war, they said secretarial work and changed the subject. Not until 1974 did the world learn what had been achieved. For Alan Turing, the silence was particularly cruel. In 1946, he received an honor for wartime service, but the citation could not explain why. He moved to Manchester University and developed groundbreaking ideas about artificial intelligence. His 1950 paper introduced the Turing Test. Could a machine think? It is a question we are still grappling with today. But Turing's personal life was about to collide with British law. In January 1952, after his house was burgled, a police investigation uncovered that Turing was in a relationship with a 19-year-old man. Both were charged with gross indecency. On March 31st, 1952, Turing was convicted. He was given a choice: imprisonment or chemical castration through hormone injections. Turing chose the hormones. For 1 year, he endured injections that rendered him impotent and caused his body to develop breast tissue. He lost his security clearance and was barred from the cryptographic work he had pioneered. The man who had saved millions was now considered a security threat because of whom he loved. On June 7, 1954, his housekeeper found him dead in his home. He was 41 years old. Beside his bed lay a half-eaten apple laced with cyanide. Only his mother, brother, and one friend attended his cremation. The world's debt to Alan Turing remained secret for another 20 years. In 2009, Prime Minister Gordon Brown issued an official apology. On behalf of the British government and all those who live freely thanks to Alan Turing's work, we are sorry. You deserved so much better. In 2013, Queen Elizabeth signed a royal pardon. In 2021, the Bank of England released a new banknote bearing Turing's portrait and his words. This is only a foretaste of what is to come, and only the shadow of what is going to be. Today, Turing is recognized not just for breaking Enigma, but for founding the science that shapes our entire civilization. His 1936 paper introduced the conceptual foundation of every computer, smartphone, and AI system in existence. Every time you unlock your phone with facial recognition, ask an AI assistant a question, or send an encrypted message, you are using descendants of the ideas Turing pioneered. The Turing Award is computing's Nobel Prize. Audiences voted him the greatest scientist of the 20th century. Alan Turing died 71 years ago, but the world he created is the one we live in now. His treatment was a profound injustice, but his legacy is immortal. And his question, can machines think, becomes more urgent with each passing year. Perhaps the greatest tribute we can offer is to remember, genius can come from unexpected places, in unexpected forms. And society's greatest achievements often depend on those it is most eager to reject.